Shalom. Call all Yahweh Shalom Shah. And Shalom to the left. That's just a follow-up of the other video over there I wanted to get into. Basically talking about these nations going against each other, and the top main nations right now in the news is U.S. and Russia. At this point.
With the U.S. Navy spreading its assets across the globe, America's military is going toe-to-toe with Russia in the Black Sea and Pacific Ocean. While Washington is citing aggression by Russia, many would say Moscow is simply in a defensive stance against foreign entities nearing and sometimes entering.
Let's see. Let me pause that real quick. Let me go to this one precept, I should say. It's the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. Keep in mind what she just said about them being defensive, which they are. That's what most nations do anyway. They be defensive against Esau, because Esau come in. You hear about all the different historical accounts. And right now it's really Esau against Esau when it comes down to U.S. and Russia. Primarily, these other nations too as well. When they go in, they come with their little treaties. You don't agree with the treaties, they'll wipe you out and set up a puppet, basically. Let me see. It's in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. And right now, it's speaking. That's why certain men can go through these precepts like that, back to back, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. Can't actually memorize them like that. It says, and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, and will not tarry. Because this is definitely coming. It's not no fable. This is a prophetic book that's speaking about events that happen and events that's going to happen in the near future. Now it says, behold, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yet also because he transgressed by wine, he's a proud man, need to keep us at home. Meanwhile, they sending ships over here across seas where they got ships at the port and they ain't delivering no goods. That's some real dumb, stupid shit, but that's Esau for you. That's some proud shit for you. He said he's a proud man, need to keep us at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. So no matter what war they won, supposedly, what type of victory they got, what type of land they don't end up obtaining, what type of goods, gold or oil or whatever they get, no matter how much they get, they ain't satisfied. It says, but gather unto him all nations, and heap up unto him all people. And so you got a U.S. base in Korea, mainly in South Korea, because they ain't got that shit in North Korea. Near China, they got the base over there in Taiwan. Over there near Saudi Arabia, near Poland, Japan. All these different areas so they can do what? Gather unto him all nations and heap up unto him all people. And that's going to be their downfall for doing that shit. Because meanwhile, you got people over here you should be focusing on and worrying about. They don't even care about their own people, so all that's going to backfire on them.
It's waters. RT's Alex Mihailovich has the story.
Russia called it an attempt to intrude on its territorial waters, while Russia and China were in the middle of conducting joint naval drills this month. According to the Russian government, the USS Chaffee came as close as 66 yards from its Navy's Admiral Tribut's destroyer before changing course and speeding away. This footage provided by Russia's defense ministry shows the $1 billion U.S. guided missile destroyer coming too close for comfort to the joint Chinese-Russian exercises in Russia's waters in the Pacific Ocean. This is not the only recent provocation in the area of Russia's Peter the Great Bay. Back in November 2020, the U.S. Navy destroyer USS John McCain invaded the same Russian waters. The American destroyer was chased off by a Russian destroyer, which threatened to ram the U.S. vessel if it did not change course. It is not a secret that the U.S. and its allies have been flexing their naval muscle in both the Pacific and the Black Sea, areas that border Russia. Back in June, Russia says that its territory was violated in the Black Sea, and that warning shots were fired from Russia's patrol ships as well as a bomb dropped from a warplane to keep a British destroyer out of its waters. The UK has denied the account. President Putin called the incident a provocation.
It is not us who came to them crossing thousands of kilometers by air or by water. It is they who approached our borders and violated our maritime territory. And that is an essential element of this situation.
The incident was the first time since the war.
Hey, straight out of the book of Habakkuk. Because his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in them. That's how they do, man. Their soul's upright. They be worrying about the people that's on drugs, people that's strung out, all these abandoned houses, and you got people that's homeless though. But see, their soul not upright though. They're too busy trying to go across seas and take people's weapons and set up puppets and do whatever they gotta do to try to take over certain areas. Let me go into the book of Joel. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3. And I seen this video online. I was talking to one of my family members about this, about the football player Colin Kaepernick and how he was actually. Let me see if I can find this video real quick. How he was talking about how the NFL is similar to slavery. Now you got some ignorant ass niggas. They gonna actually say, well, they make this amount of money, that amount of money. Well, if you go back to slavery, you had low-level servants. Then you had high-level servants. You had some servants that actually could maneuver around, that actually had certain type of land, cattle, access to weaponry and stuff like that. Then you had the ones that didn't have access to that was just out there being shipped around from plantation to plantation. So now it's just more modernized. You got people that's living a little more lower level, then you got some that's living a little bit more luxurious, so to speak. But guess what? They still up on the Esau red ass, no matter how much money they got. Let me see if I can find this video real quick. I ain't gonna play it because they might strike my shit. I'm just finding a little clip. There's one clip in there that I actually want to go to. What's the book of Joel talk about? There you go, right there. I ain't even have to play the video. It's already right there. Now, it would have been good if he'd actually put this on there, but you know how Esau played, they probably would have took it down anyway. I'm going to just read this. It says in the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1, it says, for behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which you actually see going on right now. That's why you got U.S. going against Russia. Iran, they ain't just on standby. They doing stuff too as well. You got to actually search it up and see what's going on over there. More stuff than your little small time news going on right now. They can actually affect the whole world. It says, I'll also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they scattered among the nations and part of my land. Our people they scattered everywhere. In India, Saudi Arabia, China, Japan, Poland, Bosnia, Albania, Europe, Ireland, Germany, Great Britain, Canada, Mexico, all of South America. Our people scattered everywhere. You know, it says in verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, which I want to go into that because this is what he was actually previewing right here in this video. Those lots. Them actually bidding on people. So, this is just more modernized. That's all it is. Go to it some more. It says, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. You know, let's see. Let me go down to this real quick. I'm going to jump down to verse 5 in the book of Joel, chapter 3. It says, because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. Because there's a lot of artifacts how people made actually have that may go back down through your lineage. Esau got all that. They don't put all that stuff up and ducked it off in whatever catacombs or whatever they got up under Rome or whatever other location. It said, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And that's what you see going on. Let me explain some more.
World War that Moscow acknowledged using.
See, that's why people try to push that narrative that, oh, it's an extremist group, and they try to make malicious, and anybody that's doing that, they're going completely against what the scriptures talk about, because the Most High clearly turning them against each other. They got ships chasing each other in the water. They talking about nuke talks. There's another video I seen talking about how China don't up their game on the hypersonic missiles. We got them over in Istanbul leaving, going to the Black Sea. Which I'll play some more of them videos. They putting nukes up in space. So literally the Most High, let me go to the other precept real quick. He's actually doing this right here. This is another precept I want to get to before I get that one. The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, and verse 1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. So if he want them to go send these ships back over there and mess with them again, they gonna do that. They might say, you know what, in their mind, they thinking, you know what, today we just gonna pull back. We ain't gonna send our ships back over here to the Black Sea. And when it's time for them to wake up and go about their day, their whole plan changes. But let me get this precept too as well in the book of Job. That's why sometimes you may make plans during the day and end up doing something completely opposite. And that's the Most High doing that. It could either be keeping you from being jacked up or from whatever other scenario it may be. Just so his will can go down. Let me see. Alright, it's in the book of Job, chapter 33 and verse 14. It says, for Yahweh speaketh once, yet twice, yet man perceiveth not. That's why a lot of precepts in the Old Testament line up with the New, and it seems so repetitive. Or to some people they say it's contradicting, which is not contradicting. You just have to know how to bust it down, break it down how it's supposed to be broken down. And it says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, and slumber is upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instructions, that he may withdraw man from his purpose. Because, hey, they might have woke up, they didn't want to go to the Black Sea and the Pacific. They might have wanted to go to the Atlantic and do some drills. But they switched up their whole motive. Now it says, in a dream and a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men and slumber is upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of man and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from men. He keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword. So sometimes you don't go do certain things during the day or night just so you don't perish. But in this scenario, the Most High setting them up to perish. Let me go to this other precept. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 16 and verse 13. I'm going to read on down. And see, when you really get into this book, you really see, like, hold on. This condemning somebody, but it's big up in somebody else too at the same time. Then you have to put faces on on who's hooked when you hear these different prophecies in this book. And that's in the book of Revelation chapter 16, verse 13. It says, "And I saw three